Good evening, Brother Knights. Welcome to another edition of our webcast series. Here tonight, we're going to discuss recent changes, new tools, and quick tips for the upcoming fraternal year. I'm here joined today by Tom McCaffrey, our Vice President for Fraternal Excellence and Operations. And let's begin, as we always do, with prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
God, our Father, protector of the poor and defender of the widow and orphan, you called your priest, Father Michael J. McGivney, to be an apostle of Christian family life and to lead the young to the generous service of their neighbor. Through the example of his life and virtue, may we follow your Son, Jesus Christ, more closely, fulfilling his commandment of charity and building up his body, which is the church. Let the inspiration of your servant prompt us to greater confidence in your love, so that we may continue his work of caring for the needy and the outcast. We humbly ask that you glorify your venerable servant, Father Michael J. McGivney, on earth, according to the design of your holy will. Through his intercession, grant the favor I now present. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Brothers, it's great to be with you. I'm Tom Peretta, your Director of Council and Member Experience. And for those of you joining for the first time or haven't joined in a while, this is how our webinar works. You have icon widgets at the bottom of your screen. Technical help, if at any point during the presentation you need assistance, go there for resources, the orange box with the yellow question mark. You're seeing us on your media player, and there are slides to accompany this presentation. If you cannot see either of those, just click on those and they'll appear. And you can resize those to fit your screen. We also have our Q&A box that's open. We're joined by nearly 3,000 Brother Knights tonight, so we're ready for a full night of questions. We've got the Fraternal Operations team on the line to help assist you. Any of the topics we cover, please ask questions on those as well as anything else, and we'll try to address some of those at the end of our program here. There are resources associated with tonight's webinar topics, including benefit of being on the webinars, some first look resources for the new year, particularly with our Faith in Action guidebook. So the benefit of joining, and you can share that with others, is that you're getting a first look after they've been shared with the state program directors at the Faith in Action guidebook newly released. So there's a lot to cover tonight. We want to start talking about building a strong start to our new year, right? Finishing strong and starting strong. We've got some new developments, some big ones actually in fraternal operations that we want to share. We try to refresh that every time. We've got new Star Council criteria for the year. Some of you may have already heard coming out this year. It's already been announced, and we'll be sharing those with you. And there's some new resources to help our fraternal leaders moving forward. And as always, we want to stay connected and in communication with you. So we'll cover the key communications for fraternal leaders. Let's begin, Tom. It's hard to believe it's the start of another fraternal year. We want to gear up. Many councils have had their elections. They've submitted their officer information, and it's almost time to begin, which is strange as Knights at Columbus because it happens during the summertime, and we certainly don't have a shortage of things going on right now. So where should we begin?
Well, Tom, it's even stranger this year because of the COVID pandemic. A lot of councils, we've heard from state deputies saying that a lot of their councils have not done anything since February or March,
right,
when the pandemic first hit. And that's terrible because there are so many things you can do, especially right now as we start the new year. So let's share some of these ideas. And some of them, guys, are the same you've always been doing. There's no reason you can't do them right now, even under restrictions of pandemic. So the first thing is to assess your council. Take a snapshot. How does your council look today? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And then use that in your plans going forward. Set your goals, support your pastor and your parish. You can plan, schedule, and budget for a regular year and for a pandemic year. You can build in the flexibility to do both. And you can embrace the digital. And we've talked about that a lot in the last several webinars. We won't dwell on it tonight. But if you haven't done that yet, now is the time to start embracing it. But the bottom line is, don't give up.
No, you
can do a lot.
And I think that's right. I'm sorry that some of our brother knights haven't seen a way to get started and get going, but I think that, and by being on this webinar, and you can encourage your brother knights and your officers that there are steps that you can take. Now, you say there we want to start by assessing the council for the year.
Yeah. So if your mind isn't wrapped around that concept, here are some suggestions. First, look at your officers and directors. Evaluate their strengths and weaknesses. Some are stronger than others. That's fantastic. You give them more to do. The ones that have weaknesses, you need to train them. Or perhaps assign a co-leader, a co-chairman, a co-director to help bolster up where the one is weak, the other can bring strength and support that so that going forward you have a fantastic program. You need to get out there and assess your members' condition. Remember, this was the first step of Leave No Neighbor Behind, and we've beaten this fairly aggressively for the past couple of months. But, in the process of doing that, what is their morale? Take a gauge of their morale. If it's good, fantastic, leverage that. Mm-hmm. If it's poor, do something about it. Plan to do something about improving morale so that you can engage them. Take a hard look at your financial assets and your obligations. Make sure you have the funds to cover the bills that are coming in. If there's a discrepancy there, then again, plan to do something about it. It's difficult to raise funds under the pandemic conditions, so maybe you can reduce expenses until you can raise funds. So you know the drill. Take a look at your communications effectiveness. How well are you communicating with your members, and how well are you communicating with your parish? And if the answer is not very good, then again, plan to do something about it so that you're better in that critical capacity. And part of that is public relations. Mm-hmm. We talked about that in our last webinar and told you how you can tell your story better, not only to your members, but to your parish and your community as well. Assess where you are with digital capabilities. Whether you like it or not, whether you understand it or not, it's here to stay. And you really do need to add these capabilities. So see where your council is. Some have gone far down that road and they're really reaping the benefits. Others haven't begun. So if you're in that latter category, this is your chance to identify that and move forward.
Tom, I think that's one of the exciting developments is that the digital realm that we've kind of embraced. Maybe we've put it off and have been participated in more than a few meetings now, officer meetings, planning meetings, et cetera. On this, and certainly in our own world and our business as well. It's kind of transformed. I think that's one benefit that we can take out of this if there's some light at that time.
It's great. I'm loving doing business digitally and remotely. From my own home. It's we're actually more productive than we were before. Assess your parish and your pastor's needs. Your priests have been unable to get out in the community, unable to preach from the pulpit. Talk with them, assess their needs, and see where your council can help. And finally, take a look at your programs. How are you set up for the critical faith and action areas of faith, community, family, and life? And if the answer is not well, this is the time to do something about that. So these are just some suggestions on how you can assess your council, take the snapshot of right now, and use that to plan going forward.
And I think for our officers, certainly for our incoming Grand Knights that are on, or maybe seasoned veterans, this could seem like, that's a laundry list of homework I've got to get done. But even the delegation responsibility can come in here as well, right? Officers can be chosen, and you can assign these out to different roles. Certainly, who's best to assess your programs than your incoming program director, right? What does he hope to do going forward? So we're not goal setting yet. We're saying, where have we been?
But the next step
But the next step
set goals.
Is to set goals.
Okay, so now you know where you're at. The next question is, where do you want to be? And that's what we mean by setting goals. So this is the time to chart your path to Star Council. We have new criteria we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. We're very excited about that. And knowing what they are, you should be able to plan now to get all the boxes checked off to reach Star Council for your council. This is a time also, if you have not already done so, to start up your faith in action programs. Some councils, surprisingly, have not yet done that, but we should all be behind that program 100%, and it's critical to do that, especially in these days of unrest and great discomfort. Next, if you have a council where maybe only 15 guys are coming to a meeting every month, maybe 20 guys are doing all the work and you have 200 guys in the council, well, that's an indication of poor engagement. And a goal for councils like that could be to increase or improve member engagement. And we share tons of ways to do that, tons of tools throughout the year. Next area for goal setting would be membership growth. Again, if you're one of these councils, and surprisingly there are a number of them out there, that has not recruited a new guy in years, this would be a good time to say, hey, guys, you know what? That's not right. That's an indication of an unhealthy council. We need to do something about that. So let's set a goal. Let's reach Star Council. And you'll see the criteria is a lot easier to reach now. So you could do that. And then finally, set goals for supporting your pastor and parish outreach. And, we'll go into some specifics on that in a minute, but this will be an opportunity to perhaps interact more with other ministries, right. Partner with other ministries. And that's a two-way street. Quid pro quo. You help them, they help you. Maybe you recruit some guys from that ministry. Maybe
certainly now might be the time to do that. Certainly a lot of people are looking for partnership and support as well. Right?
Exactly.
So we want to set goals, and we can't write goals for every council. You're the officers of the council. You know what you're striving for, what fits the best need for your parish, for your local community. But are you a Star Council already? Do you want to stay there? Do you want to go double Star? Do you just want to implement these new programs? So talk to your councils once you're assessing where you are, and then you can set out where you want to be. So Tom, you talked a little bit about pastor support and parish outreach going forward.
I did. So here's a couple of two ideas that you can follow up on with supporting your pastor and parish. The first one being evangelize the faith. This is something you can do pandemic or not. You can help evangelize the faith, and we have got the programmatic materials to do this extremely well. First, with the Into the Breach video series. You can do this at physical face-to-face meetings with men, small group sessions, and if allowed, or you can do it digitally. This is a perfect topic for a digital, an electronic virtual meeting to show a video. Everybody can see it on their computer. To have a question and answer session about it. We have the programmatic materials available for you. It's fantastic. And also building the domestic church. That's something we launched a couple years back. We have tons of programmatic materials, booklets on various aspects of the faith. I think, over 30 booklets that are all available. You can purchase the kits online, make them available to your members, make them available to your parishioners, all in the hopes that they will take them home and start building their domestic church at home. And the second major thrust here is really pertinent today. I mean, literally today, tomorrow, next Saturday, Sunday, is help reopen the churches. Every parish is going through this right now. Pastors need help. They're calling for volunteers to control the doors, control the spacing, and so on and so forth. And rather than me list a million things, let's take a look at a letter from the Florida State Deputy, Scott O'Connor. Many thanks to him for sharing this with us and letting us show it to you. This is a letter that he sent to every pastor in the state of Florida. And I'll just summarize it. Basically saying, Father, Knights are ready to assist with all of the following. Traffic management in the parking lots, as well as directing traffic flow in church during Mass. Knights are positioned outside the church to inform the worshipers of social distancing directives. They may help dispense hand sanitizers and face masks. Inside the church, the Knights can help direct people to their seats and assist with directing them up to communion. They can also help with sanitation between Masses, wiping off the touch surfaces and so forth. Assisting other ministries is something that Knights can do. They can help out as ushers, extraordinary ministers, lecturers, video technicians, and more. And another one I would add here, based on what I've seen locally, is offer to help take temperatures, just like the person at your doctor's office. You can't come in the door without somebody shooting a temperature gun at your head. The Knights could help do that.
I had that today. I had a dentist appointment before we came to the office today.
Yeah.
And
they shot you right in the head.
The routine of questions, and they got my temperature, and I was cleared to go in. But certainly you can ask these questions and have these conversations. Every pastor right now that's opening up, that wants to meet the spiritual needs of his parishioners, of his flock, is asking these questions. How am I going to do this? I think and we know the answer is with the Knights of Columbus,
Yeah.
right? We can be there, Father. What are the guidelines? What do we need to do to make this happen?
So, Tom, I should mention this letter is posted as one of the resources on this webinar. Feel free to download it, plagiarize it. I'm sure Scott O'Connor would not mind. This is exactly what needs to be done to help our priests. And I know they will appreciate it. Your parishioners will appreciate it too.
Great. So talk a little bit about planning, scheduling, setting a budget for the next year.
Oh, you bet. There's nothing, this isn't rocket science, guys, but, with the pandemic and the conditions being uncertain going forward, second wave, vaccine, nobody knows, make an optimistic schedule, but be flexible. Realize that face-to-face event you have scheduled for July might not be able to happen because your state might impose rules again because of another wave or something. We kind of see that happening in Texas and Florida and some other states right now where they're backing off on easing and tightening up a little bit. So build an optimistic schedule, but be flexible and have backup plans that you can fall to. Be sure to deconflict with your parish and with other ministries. You can't have the hall when the First Holy Communion kids are going to have a reception. When the Italian ministry is going to do their feast day or Hispanic ministry or whatever. So, deconflict. And I spent a lot of time doing that in my last times as Grand Knights, and it was a fine experience. Literally, got to meet the leaders of the other ministries,
right?
And working with them, you help them succeed at their event, and then they come and help you succeed at yours, and maybe join the Knights of Columbus.
And I think going and grabbing the calendar for the year, I mean, certainly, and taking in the whole year into account, and seeing what other ministry events are happening that we can partner with, right, can help build your calendar as you're sitting and having that planning meeting with officers as well. So the year doesn't is not so as hard as it sets out. It's a blank sheet at the start, but it begins to fill up pretty quickly.
The program directors left on their own, you never know. They're going to schedule something for Mother's Day or Corpus Christi Sunday or something during Holy Week,
right.
Because it's the third Friday or the third Saturday of the month, but it doesn't work this year because it's a feast day and so forth. So deconflict. Also, take a look at your district, state, and national level events and leverage them. For example, at the district, these Special Olympic tournaments. Absolutely fantastic experience. I was at several last year when I was district deputy and Grand Knight the year before. We had 50 councils at the Special Olympic softball tournament in Northern California. It was a beautiful thing to witness, but check for those events and schedule them for your council and have a ball.
Right.
State, same thing. National events. Here's an example of a great one. Father McGivney's beatification. When that happens, make a big deal out of it. I know we don't have a date yet, but it'll be coming soon, and we will announce it, and you should plan to do something as well. Same thing, Founders Day, Father McGivney's birthday, good times to have membership drives and so forth.
Right.
So,
but you're right, a great opportunity coming up, and right now, talking about Father McGivney, sharing Father McGivney's story as we prepare for the beatification, an international event really for all of us over the world,
yes,
right?
Definitely. Take a look at the programs book. We're going to Faith in Action programs book, and make sure you've scheduled enough of the different categories to earn the Columbian Award. It's a piece of cake. Tom's going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. Do try to take time for fraternity. This is making men feel good in the company of other guys. Have fun with each other, so they look forward to coming to the meetings and coming to the events. You have to plan that. It doesn't just happen automatically. Do collaborate with other councils. You're going to have a great opportunity with these fraternal benefit seminars for insurance quotas, that replace the insurance quotas. Great opportunity to work with other councils, coat drives, wheelchair drives, raising money for ultrasound machines. If your council can't, buy a whole container of wheelchairs, work with 2 or 3 other councils and together do it. Everybody will get credit for it. And finally, a critical piece here is to put together and maintain a budget that will serve you well throughout the year.
So we talked a little bit about it, and we don't need to spend too much time on it, but embracing the digital going forward, we've made available guidelines on online exemplifications, communications using our tools, how to conduct online meetings, and then we'll talk a little bit tonight about installations and how they can even go digital if necessary as well. And certainly our programs team, if you've been keeping up, we'll talk about the Fraternal Leader Advisory. Our programs team continues to make events available and adaptable to the ongoing pandemic. And we have the opportunities with Into the Breach and the video series, Leave No Neighbor Behind, and coordinating efforts with that.
The time
so the
is
bottom line is, if the pandemic
a.m.
conditions continue, you've got to be digital to be active.
Right.
And even if it doesn't continue, you want to be digital because this is the way of the future, and it can really help you engage your members better.
Yeah, and there's actually a question about virtual meetings. Can they continue post-pandemic right now? And I don't think we're
going to talk about that.
We're going to cover off on a little bit of that in the meeting section later. So great question. More information coming up. Okay, and again, the summertime in a normal year, a lot of councils, and this is seasonal, this is regional, cultural to the Knights of Columbus in your parish. But a lot of councils say, well, we kind of take it easy in the summer. But what successful councils have told us, and it's not saying you can't be successful if you have a little downtime, and downtime's great in life, but they've had meals and meetings with their pastors and officers. So that's a time for fraternity amongst officers and the pastor and chaplain to kind of discuss the coming year. And certainly if you can do that, participate definitely in your district organizational meeting. Your DD's going to be reaching out. DDs that are on tonight are beginning to plan post the state organizational meetings, their discussions with councils. Tom, you were doing that this time last year, I believe. And plan a fraternal event in July. A lot of councils take time for fraternity. I know it's when my council, we do typically we've done our steak and cigar night in July.
Those are fun.
Yeah, they're fun nights. So jury's still out on whether we'll be able to do that. But if you're able to have an event, weather and pandemic permitting, can you do that? Family picnics and potlucks. And of course, membership drives, lot of energy, a lot of fun times you're meeting and seeing people. Great opportunities to start talking about membership in the Knights.
Tom, I think the bottom line here is you should not have the mentality that you take the summer off.
Right.
You take the summer off, that just shortens your year to 3 to 9 months. Yeah. And you cannot accomplish all the things that healthy council should be accomplishing in just 9 months. So July, August, September, those are all valid months to be doing the Lord's work with the Knights of Columbus.
And the church doesn't take 3 months off, and certainly as family men, we don't take time off as well. So there is something. It's not the same nature. It's not the same speed of what we do as Knights, but there's work to be done and things can be done.
Keep the momentum.
Now we've got new fraternal operations developments since we last gathered with you. Some changes to announce, and that's what we like to keep our webinars fresh here. And the first is we want to talk about meetings and about meeting face to face, and a lot of questions coming in, Tom, to us about this Supreme Council issued policies, and then we came out with guidelines around Leave No Neighbor Behind. So what's next? What things are changing in my state? They're opening, they're closing. What do I do?
Okay, so let's talk about face-to-face meetings. We are getting a lot of questions about this, and the bottom line is we put out a policy back in March that strongly urged no face-to-face meetings, no travel for Knights of Columbus business, and so forth. And that policy still stands. So there is no new policy. However, in places where the relaxations or the restrictions are being relaxed, we offered suggestions in several webinars now. I'm not going to repeat them all here tonight. You can go back and look at them yourself on what to consider for resuming face-to-face meetings once you get a green light by your church and your state. Bottom line is we stress the safety of our members and guests. So everything you do keeps that in clear focus. Now, I do want to talk about a new consideration, and that is COVID liability insurance. It was a subject of a Wall Street Journal article today, and it's very timely because we need to talk about liability insurance in general, but COVID is the lead in here. So let's do that. Let's spend just a couple minutes. Liability insurance. The councils who have it know what I'm talking about. The councils who don't, I think you're making a big mistake. It's not mandatory, but you should want to do this. A lot of guys think that the Supreme Council provides coverage for you, liability coverage. Somebody gets hurt during one of your events. No, we do not. It's very clear in all the reference materials. You may refer to the officer's desk reference. There's a section specifically on insurance. You can find it with a couple of clicks. Councils are responsible to secure coverage on their own. Now, many dioceses, my last one in particular, Oakland Diocese, requires ministries to have liability insurance before they can use diocesan property, which is parish property. So we used to have coverage and list the diocese as the also insured for all of our big events, particularly if liquor was going to be served. So the desired protections include general liability, usually a $2 million policy, director and officer liability policy, so nobody can go after your house and your savings. That's usually a $1 million policy. Liquor liability, critical. You don't want somebody leaving under the influence and getting into an accident, hurting himself or others. More recent additions are sexual abuse liability and now COVID exposure liability. So you might ask, where can I get this kind of insurance? Well, here's an answer. The Knights of Columbus has worked closely with this provider, Locked in Affinity, and they exist to provide insurance coverage for fraternal clients. And some state councils are actually contracting with Locked in Affinity to provide insurance for their subordinate councils. Some councils work directly with Locked in as well. I'm not saying you have to use Locked in. I'm just saying this company actually meets our needs. I'm sorry for that blue link there. Somehow that got changed back from an earlier version.
So I'll read that out for everyone just so they can, and we'll make it available in post notes. It's council insurance at lockedinaffinity.com. Council insurance at lockedinaffinity.com if you're looking to inquire about that. And actually, Tom, I'll note here that the Connecticut State Council does administer policies for councils. Councils pay, but as Grand Knight Officer, we that was recently made available, and they've been running that program. Some state councils have told us that they make it mandatory and they expect it. Now, this particular vendor does not operate in Canada, but there are other insurance vendors available in Canada that are familiar with working with fraternal organizations and local organizations like ours. So you want to reach out or maybe start with your state advocate on what they might recommend.
Yeah, if you have questions, you should talk with your state advocate. My councils, they've started getting liability insurance the first time I was Grand Knight 16, 17 years ago, and they've continued the policies ever since. In California, it was pretty pricey with the provider we were using. It was upwards of $2,000 a year. My understanding about Locked In is it's much more affordable.
And I think
significantly more affordable.
What people have told us is that, as they say, they insure fraternal clients, but they also understand the nature of our work, of what we do at the local level. So that's always very helpful.
And we're a good risk category, so that's why we get a good deal. So other new fraternal operations developments. One is, and this is big, guys. This is huge.
This is a big one.
We just started on-demand exemplification ceremonies. We started with the combined ceremony back in January, and that was well received. Then we started doing online ceremonies. Again, well received, but limited to a couple nights a week in Spanish, French, whatever, a strict schedule. Well, we've taken it to the next step, and that is anybody, anytime, any language can do an exemplification ceremony by just a couple clicks of the mouse. You send the invitation to them. It's a standard email that we'll send out to you. We already have started sending it out. You send it to your candidates that want to join your council, and they just click when they're ready. And 35 minutes later, they will be a third-degree knight, and you will hear from us the next day or shortly thereafter, so you can add them to your roster. Bottom line is this removes that the schedule conflict excuse that a lot of candidates say, I'm not available Tuesday night or Saturday or next Sunday.
If you've got a buddy or a friend that you needed to get in, I mean, you can make it available, sign them up. get him in, work with your council. But if he's been waiting out there for a while, certainly there's no need to wait anymore now with on-demand exemplifications.
Right. And guys, this is brand new. We literally just started it, I think, Monday or Friday, and we've already gotten quite a few candidates have taken advantage of it.
So now, and we'll talk a little bit about communications if you haven't seen the links on this, and these are going out to officers, to council officers, with these email invitations, and membership growth has been distributing those several times a week, and they'll continue forward. And we'll talk about if you think you're dropped off our communication, how you can contact us to make sure you're getting email distribution from our team.
Okay, so another new development in fraternal operations is we're telling everybody it's okay to do virtual installation of officers. You can download the script, the standard script, Form 770, from Officers Online Members section, specifically under District Deputy. You can find it in Form 770. Just read through it, take a pen to it, line out all the stuff you can't do virtually, and do the stuff that you can. Say the prayers, say the nice words, say the pledge, and virtually administer or present the jewels or medals they're called now.
Yes, medals.
And say the nice words for each office and close with a prayer. I would recommend that you do it as soon as possible. Don't drag this out all summer long. Do it at the very next council meeting, a virtual meeting, right? Council should be doing these meetings in places where they can't meet. And if they can meet, well, then you could do the regular installation ceremony in person.
Right.
And, with all the nice, beautiful elements that we enjoy.
And in either case, if you do have to do this, through a digital meeting, families can certainly be part of it, participate, observe.
Oh yeah.
And it's a nice way. It's certainly a great way to kick off and celebrate the leadership roles that all our officers are coming into and starting off the next year.
Yeah, my councils used to combine it with the end of year party.
Yeah.
So we give out the Knight of the Year Award, Family of the Year Award, a million plaques, and have the installation ceremony for the new guys.
Wrap off and a kickoff.
Plus a dinner, a potluck dinner. Wives, kids were there. It was a real fun event. So anyway, bottom line, there's no reason to not do your installation because of the pandemic. Get it done virtually, in person, whatever. We give you permission to do it virtually and to modify the script accordingly.
And we've made that script available in our resources widget. It's on the website, but if you want it quickest tonight and you want to download it, you'll get it as part of the resources in the email that follows this webinar. But you can also click on the resources tab at the bottom of your screen and access that as well.
So now we have another exciting new development to talk about. We gave it its own agenda item here, and that is new criteria for the coming fraternal year. We changed the criteria for the existing year to make it more achievable even under the pandemic conditions. And we had already been working on new criteria for next year, and they've all been approved. And Tom, would you like to share with everybody what the new criteria is? I think they're going to be very happy to hear what we've done.
I think
Very happy.
To start off, we still have, the core areas of Star Council. If you've been following them, if you've been doing them for this year in the modified quotas, they exist. And we're going to go through those individual awards over that. And then there's still required forms and in the U.S. and Canada, safe environment requirements. So let's start with the McGivney Award for this year on membership. Starting at the start of the fraternal year, July 1, this will now be a 5% net growth in membership goal, right? So let's reduce 2% from 7% is how it was usually set. We've also changed the minimum and the maximum goal. So the minimum goal that any council can set, no matter how the math works out, is 3, and the maximum goal of councils will be 20. So those are reduced from, I think it's 4 and 35. And Tom, we surveyed and heard from a lot of councils on this, thousands of nights wrote in.
You told us it was too hard to hit your Star Council membership quotas. So we took a real hard look at this and listened to all your recommendations and suggestions. And this is our answer. We reduced the criteria by about 30%.
Right. And
so you should be able to go out there and make it happen this year.
Right. We hope this is motivating for a lot of councils to get started and with their growth goal. And these changes will be reflected in the quotas you see online when you sign into Officers Online on July 1. right? So our internal IT department has implemented these changes, so they'll calculate for you. An equally significant change is the change to the Founders Award and how we're measuring that this year. Previously, we had a quota of insurance sales or members of the Knights who became insured members. That is no longer the case. Starting this year, and this is building off of a pilot that has been tested this previous year, you can host and promote 2 fraternal benefit seminars. There is no insurance quota for associate to insure. 2 fraternal benefit seminars, no minimum attendee required, but it needs to be promoted in conjunction with your field agent. And you can do joint seminars with other councils. So here's what that looks like, right? You can do it either in person or through a digital meeting. And councils will serve as the host of the event, and they need to promote it to their membership. But your field agents and your general agents, they have prepared and approved presentations to go through. So they've got the programming locked down for this event, right? You just need to host the party and have the Brother Knights show up and family members. And council participation will be reported by your agents. They'll report to councilgrowth@kofc.org. That's councilgrowth@kofc.org. And agents do the reporting on fraternal benefit seminars. And the great part about this is it promotes our member benefits and serves as an engagement opportunity for members.
You know, Tom, I've attended a couple of these seminars, and they're very nicely done. And it's not just the field agent talking the whole time. If done well, I've seen the field agents invite other speakers in. Somebody to talk about Social Security, somebody to talk about wills and trusts, somebody to talk about Medicare. Try to figure that one out on your own. It's tough. So anyway, they try to make it very helpful for a large spectrum of the potential audience. And the fraternal benefits, the insurance side, and financial products is just one of these pieces. And it's very well received. You're going to like this. And
they've got a lot to offer, our brother agents do. And I was talking to a Grand Knight who hosted one of these, and they actually participated then in a district-wide event and had the majority of the men present were members of his council. And he said, but I thought I was good. And then here he was today when I talked to him, had papers in hand, and he was ready to expand his Knights of Columbus insurance. So he was just trying to get star council for this year and make sure the event happened. And he's one of the Brother Knights saying, well, I've got to make a change. So good for him.
Yep.
All right, the Columbian Award, 16 program credits. That stays the same. What's changed here is the removal of required programs and the addition of more featured programs. You still have to, when you complete the Columbian Award, complete 4 programs in each category: faith, family, community, and life.
But what are these featured programs?
What are these featured programs? So these are the featured programs, and we've expanded. There were previously, I don't know the exact number of featured programs, but now they've been expanded to 4 featured programs per category. If you're unfamiliar with a featured program is where you can perform one of these programs to a minimum requirement of level, whether it's X number of coats distributed or X number of dollars for RSVP program.
Pounds of food.
Or pounds of food with the Food for Families, right? There are minimum requirements, and if you consult the Faith in Action Guidebook and Faith in Action resources that we've made available tonight, they list out the minimum requirements for these featured programs. So there are more opportunities. When you do the minimum requirements of a featured program, you receive 2 credits when you report it. So you do the minimum requirements and you receive 2 program credits for that. If you do any participation of RSVP or Into the Breach or Codes for Kids and you don't meet the minimum requirements, that doesn't mean you didn't get credit for a program. You can list that on your Columbian Award application for 1 credit. But to get 2 credits, these featured programs have some minimum requirements, and they're all listed out in the new Faith in Action Guidebook. So certainly this won't be the only.
They're not that hard to hit.
They're not. And some are more challenging than others. They're flexible. March for Life criteria is different than participation in the Family Fully Alive program, right? So consult that, share that with your program directors. This is the full list of Supreme recommended programs, the matrix that the program team has put together for faith, family, community, and life. And we get a lot of questions every year so I have to fill out the Columbian Award with these programs?
No,
No.
no. If you have a different program that you do in your council, your parish, because it's really meaningful, your pastor wants it, your community needs it, we'll give you credit for it.
Right.
Just squeeze it into one of these 4 categories.
Right. I mean,
Piece of cake.
and the Faith in Action Guidebook gives you a description of what do we mean when we say do programs that are faith, do programs that are life. And if you're doing programs in the spirit of those, these are the model programs that the Supreme Council has chosen to put resources together. They're certainly helpful for councils getting off the ground. And if you look at your calendar and you say, well, I'm a little light on family programming, start with these.
Let's try Family of the Month,
Yeah.
Family of the Year. Oh my gosh, it's a certificate. It's a piece of paper. It costs you $0.25.
Yeah.
And you get credit for a program.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Right. So there are a lot of great ideas. If you've got a new program director or your new officer team that's getting together and you want to change things up, the suggestion is start with the Faith in Action Guidebook, start with these programs.
So Tom, how does this all roll into the Star Council?
So as we said, the structure is the same, and here are the final requirements. Councils that achieve their McGivney Award criteria, the 5% net membership growth, councils that achieve Founders Award of doing 2 fraternal benefit seminars, councils that complete the Columbian Award, they've done 16 programs, 4 in each category, so 16 program credits, 4 in each category, and submit their Columbian Award form, the SP7. Do those 3 and do the required forms of the Program Personnel 365 and the Fraternal Survey 1728, and are in good standing with the Supreme Council, you will achieve Star Council for the 2020-2021 fraternal year. Now, being in good standing with the Supreme Council in the United States and Canada, that means being safe, environment compliant. And we should share here, or reshare here, that the Supreme Night announced that for this fraternal year, there will be no Supreme assessments on councils. So being suspended for non-payment will not be one of the things standing in the way of Star Council going forward.
Well, they will not be suspended for non-payment of per capita. You could be suspended for other reasons.
Right.
And you would not be in good standing then, but that's usually something bad.
Yeah, that's a whole different category. But councils being suspended for non-payment is not going to be one of the things stopping you. So good. So there they are: McGivney, Founders, Columbian, required forms, and be in good standing. That rolls up into our new revised Star Council program.
But what about district deputies, Tom? What do they have to do to get Star District?
Always the former district deputy to ask, right? So we have not forgotten about Star District awards. So these changes impact all districts, right? And how you motivate your councils. Your membership quota still will now it'll be changed because we're looking at 5% growth, but 70% of your combined council quotas. That's consistent with how it is before. Insurance, all councils fully comply. That means that all of your councils host 2 fraternal benefit seminars.
But if they're smart district deputy will host a combined seminar for all of his councils.
Right.
Literally, you could satisfy the criteria for just 2 seminars in your district that meet all the criteria.
Right. And your district
serves everybody well.
Can help work with your general agent and your field agents to coordinate that as well. Mm-hmm. So that might be necessary. And
it would be fun.
And it could be fun. At least one council in your district should earn Star Council, and you need to submit. And this is the change here. The required form here is that you need to submit the 944 report on your council status. Right. That's the form that we request twice a year. So that's the new Star District Award for the coming year.
And why do you have to submit that form? Because we want to read it. I want to see what you think the health of your council is, so that we can form an idea of what we need to do to help you make your council better.
Right. A lot of great ideas come from that, or we know, are there more resources that need to be put out, and they don't just help us, they help the entire structure and your state team as well. But we can only report and share what's reported up about council status, right? A lot of councils that drop off or go towards inactivity. It doesn't happen in 1 year. It's a slide starts, and district deputies are going to be the first people to see it.
There are councils out there without grand nights. How can that be?
Yeah.
But that's how, so address that, and we will help figure out a solution to this. We have the resources.
Right. So, okay, there are your requirements for STAR District. So, Tom, we've been making a lot of headway. You've been working with the team on some new resources for the coming year. Some are in production, some are already completed. So what do we have to share about that?
Yeah, guys, this is a year of great change. We have a lot of things still cooking, but here's the ones that we have released already. You need to be aware of it. You need to use these tools. First ones are for training. We're very excited about our new webpage, kofc.org/training. Easier to navigate, more user-friendly, and gets you to where you need, gets you the tools you need much more quickly. We also have new regional training courses that you can find on that portal, and access to contact your regional training directors. We have a small army of them all throughout the country and Canada, available to give you tailored training on a variety of topics. And finally, we have presentations in the can ready for the state and district organization meetings. You talk to your state deputies about getting access to them. And, we cover membership growth, we cover programs, we cover fraternal operations. Everything that's important to us is captured in those presentations. Most of them are 15 to 20 minutes. I think mine is the longest. It's about 29 minutes because we had so much to talk about. But we did that as a service for you, so you can train your Grand Knights, your council officers, your district deputies. We also have updated a number of print resources. I'm very excited about our fraternal planner that is available now, and they'll be mailed out to all of the councils and district deputies shortly. In fact, it's in progress, I believe. Tom will talk more about that in a moment. The Faith in Action Guidebook is finished and also available for ordering. And we're doing a lot of work on the next two resources. They're not ready yet, but they will be hopefully very soon. The guidelines for council meetings and leadership resources. We're going to talk more about council meetings in a couple minutes because there's some significant changes.
Right.
So yeah, Tom, the fraternal planner, we were talking about that today. Why don't you share with these?
Yeah, so the planner is great. It's one of our most requested resources since it was introduced, and a lot of questions about it tonight. It is live on the website today, and it was released digitally in the Fraternal Leader Advisory as well, and it's going in the mail. 3 copies will be mailed to each financial secretary along with the STAR Council poster. And we do that to financial secretaries because we're mailing in the transition as officers change over. And copies will be sent, and starting this week, to district deputies as well. Those will go direct. Previously, they've gone either directly or to state org meetings. Given the flux this year, the decision was made that the best way we get these in your hands is to physically mail them directly to DDs. So those will be starting. And if you're a new DD, the changeover and the processing, that'll take a little bit of time, but certainly available for download. But the benefit of the fraternal planner is we've got key resources inside the planner, monthly reminders, there's planning tools, and certainly the STAR Council checklist that we just went over. There's a snapshot of a monthly planner with items to accomplish, planning ahead tips, and guides on all the Supreme Council deadlines that come up, and certainly keynotes. There's a planning for your church drive resource in there, and the STAR Council checklist. So there's a lot in the fraternal planner that can be of assistance to you, and I think that resource and its usefulness is why so many people request it. So certainly it's available for download on the website. Make it available to you in resources, and it's in the Fraternal Leader Advisory as well.
And Tom, we could share that it was updated to reflect the pandemic. To at least discuss it. It is updated to reflect the new STAR Council awards, the new district deputy STAR district award criteria. And all these things are so recent. That's why this book is a little bit delayed in being issued this year, because we were trying to pack a whole bunch of important stuff into it.
Yeah, the decision was made not with the changes in STAR Council, let's make sure we get them in before we send to print and production. But that last slide up there right now is your STAR Council award and STAR district checklist. So hopefully that's very helpful to you. Tom, you mentioned a meeting changes coming up, and then that guidelines book is under review.
Yeah, I want to spend a couple minutes talking about that. So, as we were preparing that meeting book, we dug into some of the reference material and found out that in 2018, the Charter, Constitution, and laws were revised, Section 125 specifically, that deals with meetings, monthly meetings for councils. And I had already done a rewrite of this meeting book talking about business meetings and a proposed new script and new agenda and all this stuff. And then I found that the CCLs were changed, and we had to change everything differently. Here's the crux of the change, guys. The business meeting that we've all done for 100 or more years is not called a business meeting anymore. It's called a membership meeting. This is the monthly meeting where all the guys are supposed to come to, and you talk about things, you vote on things. It's now called a membership meeting. The intent is to make the meetings more enjoyable for everybody. The guys that don't want to hear every bill down to the penny that has to get paid, that don't want to be dragged through the grass on all the details of upcoming planning for events and so forth. They just want to come and enjoy the fraternal spirit, be edified, taught something new, strengthened in their faith, and conduct some business, vote on the things that have to be voted on, but they don't want to be dragged down into the excruciating detail that often makes our meetings just seem to drag on and on. So it's now called a membership meeting with a different focus. So where do you do the business? Well, there's a new requirement to do a monthly officers' business meeting. A lot of councils, my own included, would do a planning meeting once a month. Some didn't. Some did not, which surprised me. Grant Knight would just show up unprepared for his monthly meeting. But good councils always did planning meetings where they figured out what they're going to queue up for motions, what they're going to allow to be discussed, what the agenda is, so on and so forth, so they could pack the right things into a 1-hour meeting for the general membership. So what to do at this officers' business meeting? Well, that's where you do business. You pay the bills. You discuss the plans for events that you're considering doing. You go into excruciating detail so that you either kill it or you advance it. But everybody doesn't need to hear all that excruciating detail. They need to hear the refined Reader's Digest version at the membership meeting. So you do the business at the officers' business meeting. You do the fun stuff at the membership meeting. And revised guidelines will soon be issued. It's in progress right now, but it's big because this affects a lot of other reference materials and probably additional revisions to the Constitution, Charter, laws, and that requires the Board of Directors and the Supreme Convention approval. So it's a long process, but we will get these guidelines through soon.
So we'll get the revised guideline book, but for now, you have the current guideline book available to you. You're running meetings as you are for the recommended business agenda for the membership meeting. Return to Section 125 of the CCL. And for those of you who are looking for the Charter, Constitution, and laws, it is available for us on KofC.org, KofC.org/CCL, and you'll be able to go right to that book that has our Charter, Constitution, and laws, and you can look that section up.
So probably the biggest changes right off the top of my head were Section 125 agenda, remove the financial secretary's report, remove the treasurer's report, remove the fourth degree reports, and one or two others. But it really will significantly shorten the meetings.
Great. All right.
And make them more fun. You can focus more on fun.
More to come on those in the air. And we've got a little bit to say about leadership communications as well for the coming year and recent communications resources that we've been putting together.
Right. The first one is these webinars. We've been doing regular fraternal operations webinars. And I mean, we started out doing it weekly, then every 2 weeks. The last was 3 weeks ago. The next one's going to be a month from now. But the bottom line is we need to do these to keep you current. Things are changing so much and so often with the pandemic, with social unrest, so on and so forth, that this is one of the ways we need to communicate with some meat on the bone what Supreme would like the councils to do and how to respond to the changing environment. So going forward, I'll make a promise here and now. I'm not going to waste your time on these webinars. They're not on, at least these will not be on a single topic that applies only to the life director. There will be webinars on that for the life directors, but my fraternal operations webinars are going to be on things that fraternal leaders need to know. So you should all watch them. We're getting about 3,000 views tonight. We should be getting about 20,000 views if all Grand Knights and membership directors and program directors and district deputies were watching. So please take the message to your peers and get them to sign on to these webinars so that they can keep informed. We're also issuing now fraternal leadership advisories. That's a newsletter, a new newsletter. We're up to volume 4 or 5. I think 5 will be coming out next week. It's very powerful. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit about that right now. In fact, Tom, why don't you take it?
Yeah, and more, and it has a snapshot of everything. And I think the best way I can do is we put together a little video to talk about everything that's in the Fraternal Leader Advisory. So why don't I share that with the group here?
And it's for all leaders, council, district, even state.
Welcome to the video introduction to Fraternal Leader Advisory, or FLA. The Fraternal Leader Advisory is an electronic publication of the Supreme Council designed to provide fraternal leaders with breaking news, reminders, resources, and recommendations. All registered council officers receive this regular email. If you would like to subscribe to FLA, please reach out to fraternalmission@kofc.org. Each section of FLA contains clickable links that will lead readers to respective PDFs, pages of kofc.org, or other official Knights of Columbus vendor sites. The top section of each edition of FLA is titled Important Links. This section provides a number of boxes containing quick links to timely fraternal topics. The next section is titled Fraternal Operations. This area shows information relating to general council operations, including upcoming deadlines and announcements of events, particularly fraternal webinars. The third section is Membership Growth and Experience. Here, the Fraternal Mission team provides helpful tips and materials related to bringing new Knights into our order. The Evangelization and Faith Formation section of FLA primarily relates to Faith in Action program updates. One program from each category of the Faith in Action model will be highlighted in each issue of FLA. Additional program updates will also be covered here. The bottom 3 sections of FLA are role-specific reports, just like you would have at a regular membership meeting. The District Deputy Report, Grand Knight Report, and Financial Secretary Report each provide important details, best practices, and reminders that are unique to each officer role. Finally, each edition of FLA ends with a survey. Please complete these regular surveys so that the Supreme Council can incorporate your feedback into future resources and initiatives. Thank you for watching. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out by email to fraternalmission@kofc.org or call 203-752-4270. Vivat Jesus.
All right, Brother Knights, well, that was an overview of FLA, our Fraternal Leader Advisory. And if you're not receiving Fraternal Leader Advisory right now, there's a sign-up feature if you'd like to sign up for it. It's distributed to all council officers. That's Grand Knight all the way through trustee, district deputies, financial secretaries are included, and we include state officers in that distribution. But if you're in flux or you think you're not getting that, there's a fraternal leader advisory sign up, and we use that list to also include you in other publications that we put out. Now, councils that haven't done it, you need to submit your forms to get on our distribution for the 185 of council officers and the 365 of program personnel as soon as those are voted and appointed. And of course, we highly encourage online submission via member management. So you can register for the Fraternal Leader Advisory's email. We will keep our current fraternal year lists running for a month or two into the new year. So no one will drop off. As council officers are coming on and off, we'll continue that moving forward. And if you have any questions about any of our communications, or feel you're not receiving them properly, contact us at fraternalmission@kofc.org.
Yeah, brothers, it is so important for us to help you do your job, but we can't do that if we can't communicate to you or with you. So please make sure you're receiving these things, or contact us. If you're not, then we will hook you up. So we're going to wrap up now. We're out of time, but I want to highlight, these are the new things we discussed tonight. How to support your parish right now using the suggested letter from Scott O'Connor in Florida. We talked about liability insurance, the importance of having it and where you might be able to get it. We talked about the on-demand exemplification ceremonies, the virtual installation of officer ceremonies. We talked about new criteria for council awards in the coming year. We talked about the updated fraternal planner, a short video on the fraternal leadership advisories. And we talked about the new monthly meetings for membership and officer business. So we packed a lot in tonight. We appreciate your attention. And questions, I know you've been writing them in all night, and we will respond to them by email. Sorry we could not address them during the webinar.
We've addressed a few throughout the webinar, and the team will continue to answer them throughout today and tomorrow. So
our next webinar, tentatively scheduled for July 23rd. That's a month from now. We have a lot of topics. A lot of things are in for approval right now that I'm really not at liberty to mention them until we have gotten a green light on them. And as soon as they are, we will pack them into a webinar and share it all with you tentatively July 23rd. Keep that date available. So again, thank you for your attention. It was fun interacting with you.
Great.
And I'd like to ask Tom to lead us in a closing prayer.
Sure.
For the pandemic.
For the pandemic, and great to be back with you, Tom. And I guess
Likewise.
It'll be a little bit further through our next time we'll be back together. But it's always great to be in studio here. So let's close with the prayer for protection in a time of pandemic. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
O Mary, you always brighten our path as a sign of salvation and of hope. We entrust ourselves to you, health of the sick, who at the cross took part in Jesus' pain, while remaining steadfast in faith. O loving Mother, you know what we need, and we are confident you will provide for us as at Cana in Galilee. Intercede for us with your Son Jesus, the divine physician, for those who have fallen ill, for those who are vulnerable, and for those who have died. Intercede also for those charged with protecting the health and safety of others, and for those who are tending to the sick and seeking a cure. Help us, O Mother of divine love, to conform to the will of the Father, who, as we are told by Jesus, who took upon himself our sufferings and carried our sorrows, so as to lead us through the cross to the glory of the resurrection. Amen. Brothers, as always, it's great to be with you. Thank you for all you do. We wish you a great end of this fraternal year and a great start to the next fraternal year. Father McGivney, pray for us.
Vivat Jesus.